All right, let's unpack this. I want to start today with a bit of a challenge to the way most of us are operating.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I ran across this quote from Henry David Thoreau while we were prepping, and honestly, it kind of annoyed me a little bit.
Okay.
He said, "Money is not required to buy any necessity of the soul."
It's a poetic sentiment, isn't it?
Right.
Very transcendent.
It is, but let's be real for a second. It sits in a pretty stark contrast to the actual world we have to navigate. I mean, try telling your landlord that.
Right.
We live in a culture that is absolutely obsessed with the billionaire lifestyle. We track net worths like they're sports scores. So when I read Thoreau, part of me just thinks, easy for you to say you were living in a cabin.
That is a fair critique. And that tension you're feeling, that disconnect, that is exactly where today's source material lives. We are looking at Robin Sharma's book, The Wealth Money Can't Buy.
And he's not writing from a cabin.
No, not at all. He's a mentor to billionaires, sports superstars, industry titans.
Which is why I was willing to listen to him. He's seen the bank accounts, he's been on the private jets.
Right. And his core observation is what he calls being cash rich, yet life poor.
I love that phrase.
He sees people climb that mountain of financial success. They scrape, they hustle, they sacrifice everything to get to the summit. And they finally arrive, only to find themselves feeling empty, lonely, just profoundly unhappy.
It sounds like that classic midlife crisis trope, but Sharma seems to be saying it's more than just a phase. It's like a structural failure in how we define success.
Completely. He argues that money is only one very specific type of currency. If you have a surplus of cash, but a deficit of character or health or connection, you were actually bankrupt in the ways that make life livable.
You know, there is a story in the introduction that I think captures this perfectly. It's almost like a fable.
Oh, the one about the boy.
Yes. So there's this young boy living in the countryside. Every evening, he looks across this massive valley to a house on a faraway hill. And to him, this house looks spectacular because it has windows of pure gold. They just shine.
The golden windows.
Right, the golden windows. So the boy becomes obsessed. He thinks, my life here is boring, my house is ordinary. But if I can just get to that house, everything will be perfect.
Of course.
So one day, he packs a bag. He journeys across the valley. It's a long, hot trek, takes him all day, and he finally climbs the hill to get to this magical house.
And this is the moment of truth. What does he find?
He finds a broken-down barn. The paint is peeling, the roof is sagging, and the windows, they aren't gold, they're just old, dirty, cracked glass.
Oh, wow.
He realizes that what he saw from his side of the valley was just the sun reflecting off the dirt. It was an optical illusion.
That's such a powerful metaphor for the arrival fallacy.
Exactly. We ignore the roses blooming outside our own windows, to borrow a phrase from Dale Carnegie, because we're so fixated on this mirage of distant perfection.
We think wealth is over there, somewhere in the future, made of gold. But often, it's just a trick of the light.
It's devastating, though. Imagine that hike back home. You're tired, and now you know the magic isn't real. So if the golden windows are a lie, what is the truth?
And that's our mission today.
We are going to unpack Sharma's 8 forms of wealth model, but we aren't going to try and skim all 8, writer.
No, that would be way too much for one session. We're going to give a quick overview so you understand the landscape, but then we are going to do a serious deep dive into the very first one.
Why the first one?
Because without it, the other 7, they just don't matter.
Okay, lay it out for us. What are these 8 forms of wealth?
So Sharma argues that true prosperity is a blend of 8 distinct habits or assets. First, you have growth. That's daily self-improvement.
Okay.
Second is wellness, optimizing your health so you actually have the energy to live. Third is family, because if you're rich but alone, you've lost.
Right.
Fourth is craft. This is seeing your work as a platform for purpose, not just a paycheck.
Pause there for a second. I noticed money hasn't come up yet. Usually that's number 1, 2, and 3 on people's lists.
That's intentional. Money is the 5th form of wealth. Sharma acknowledges it's important. He calls it fuel for freedom. But it's in the middle of the pack.
It supports the life. It isn't the life.
Exactly.
Okay. So money is number 5. What's left?
6th is community. Your social network. 7th is adventure. The joy that comes from exploring, not possessing. And finally, number 8, service. The realization that life is short, so you should be helpful.
It's a holistic scorecard. If you're crushing number 5, money, but failing number 2, wellness, and number 3, family.
You're not successful.
You're just a rich guy in a hospital waiting room with no visitors.
Precisely. But today, we are focusing exclusively on that first pillar, growth. Because Sharma makes a really compelling case that this is the foundation for everything else. He calls it the wealth within.
And his main thesis here is the outer change follows inner change law, which, I have to be honest, sounds a bit like a bumper sticker.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, like something you'd see on an Instagram graphic with a sunset in the background.
It does sound simple. But let's dig into why it's actually quite profound. The principle is that you can never outperform your own self-identity. You can never create a life that is bigger than you are internally.
What do you mean?
Like, if you don't feel worthy of wealth, you'll find a way to sabotage it. If you don't feel worthy of love, you'll push it away.
Okay, that resonates. It's like when people win the lottery and go bankrupt 3 years later.
Perfect example. Their bank account grew, but their inner wealth didn't, so reality just snapped back to match their identity.
There's a great story in the book that illustrates this, the one with the father and the newspaper.
Oh, the Globe story.
Yeah. So the dad is tired. He just wants 5 minutes of peace. But his young son is bouncing off the walls. Dad, let's play. Dad, look at me. Finally, the dad gets an idea.
A brilliant idea, he thinks.
He sees a map of the world in the newspaper. He rips it out, tears it into dozens of little confetti pieces, and hands the pile to his son.
He thinks he's bought himself at least an hour.
Exactly. He says, here, go put the world back together. He figures, this kid is 6, he doesn't know geography, this is going to take forever.
Buying himself some quiet time.
Right. But 2 minutes later, literally 2 minutes, the kid is tugging on his sleeve, the map is taped together perfectly, the dad is stunned.
How is that possible?
He asks, how did you do that so fast? You don't know where Brazil is. And the boy says, easy, Dad. On the back of the page, there was a picture of a person, and once I got the person together, the world was okay.
Once I got the person together, the world was okay. That is the essence of the first form of wealth. We spend so much time trying to tape the world together.
Our jobs, our relationships, the economy.
When the real work is on the other side of the page,
Yeah.
if you fix yourself, your external world just sort of falls into place.
But let me play devil's advocate here, because that sounds great, but it also puts a lot of pressure on the individual. It sounds like, hey, if your life is messy, it's because you are messy. Isn't that a bit harsh?
It can be interpreted that way, sure. But Sharma frames it as empowerment, not blame. He distinguishes between victims and leaders. He says, victims make excuses, leaders deliver results.
And he's not talking about CEOs.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
He means that real leadership is simply the opposite of playing the victim. It's taking responsibility for putting your own person together, rather than waiting for the world to fix itself for you.
Okay, so if we accept that we need to get ourselves together, the immediate question is, why are we apart in the first place? How did we get programmed to be this way?
This is where we have to look at the software we're running. Sharma breaks this down with an acronym, PNAM, P-E-N-A-M. These are the 5 forces that shape our identity.
Okay, walk us through these.
P stands for parents. Whether they meant to or not, we inherit their programming. Think about it. What did you hear about money growing up?
Oh, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy.
Exactly. Those are scripts. If you heard life is a struggle every day for 18 years, you likely downloaded that software. You might be self-sabotaging just because your programming says life has to be hard.
That's terrifying. Okay, what's E?
Environment. The ecosystem you inhabit. If you're surrounded by clutter, or you live where people are constantly negative, that input degrades your mindset. You can't think clearly in a dirty room.
Makes sense. In.
Nation. This is the broader context. Your country, economic stability, safety, culture. It creates the lens through which you see possibility.
Right. And then we have A, which I think is the one people struggle with the most.
Associations. Who you spend time with. There's that famous Jim Rohn quote. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
The friendship circle effect.
Exactly. If your 5 best friends are constantly complaining, eating junk food, and not reading, well, the gravity of that group is going to pull you down.
It's hard, though. Breaking up with friends because they aren't optimizing their growth feels so cold.
It does. But the alternative is staying stuck. You don't have to be cruel, but you have to be conscious. And finally, M for media. The constant hypnosis of advertising, designed to make you feel inadequate so you'll buy something.
So parents, environment, nation, associations, media, PNAM. And just being aware of them is the first step. It's like realizing, oh, I'm not lazy. I'm just running a script written by my grandma and the TV.
Exactly. And once you see the script, you can rewrite it. But Now, this is a big bet. The moment you try to rewrite it, you encounter the gatekeeper.
Fear.
Fear.
Oh, this was the section that really grabbed me. The concept of ghost stories, because fear feels so real. It's physical, sweaty palms, racing heart. But Sharma says it's mostly fiction.
He calls it a brilliant reframe. He argues that most of our fears, fear of failure, fear of judgment, are lies. They are ghost stories we tell ourselves to stay safe.
He tells this gripping story from the mystic Osho to illustrate this. I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine a mountain climber. He's descending a peak, solo, it's getting dark, the weather is turning bad, he can't see his hand in front of his face, and suddenly, he slips.
Nightmare scenario.
He's sliding down into the darkness, gaining speed, he thinks, this is it. But then, miraculously, his belt catches on a branch. He jolts to a stop.
Just hanging there in the void.
Exactly, it's pitch black. He kicks his legs, nothing but air, he shouts, no echo. He is convinced that if he lets go, he falls thousands of feet into an abyss. So he grips on for dear life.
The entire night.
The entire night, in absolute torture, the cold, his hands are bleeding, he's hallucinating. It is the longest night of his life.
And then the sun comes up.
The sun rises, the fog clears, and he looks down, and he realizes his feet are 6 inches above a massive, wide, grassy ledge.
6 inches.
6 inches. He was never in danger. The abyss was all in his mind.
That story gives me chills every time. Because think about it. How many of us are holding on to a rope, a job we hate, a dead relationship, because we're terrified of the drop?
We think, if I quit this job, I'll be homeless. If I leave this partner, I'll be alone forever.
But the reality is, the drop is 6 inches.
Yeah.
You just step down, you land on the ledge, and you walk away.
Fear is often only 6 inches deep.
We suffer so much more in our imagination than we do in reality. The takeaway here isn't that there are no risks in life. It's that our brain exaggerates them to keep us frozen.
So we've identified the programming, PNM. We've called out the fear as ghost stories. Now let's get tactical. How do we actually do the work?
Sharma is very specific here. The first thing is linguistic. He says we have to stop saying, I'll try.
Oh man, I'm so guilty of this. I'll try to get to the gym. I'll try to read more.
Right. It feels harmless, but Sharma calls it a lack of commitment. It's basically pre-planning an excuse for failure. He quotes Yoda, do or do not. There is no try.
When you say I'll try, you're telling your brain, I'm not really serious about this.
Exactly. Don't allocate too much energy.
Okay, so we cut I'll try. But even if we commit, growth is slow. And we live in an instant gratification world. We want the golden windows now.
This is where the Great Pyramid analogy comes in. It took 20 years to build. It's 2.5 million stones. How is it built?
One block upon another block.
One block upon another. We overestimate what we can do in a day. I could change my whole life this Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we underestimate what we can do in a decade of just placing one block.
That's the boring work.
But here's why people quit. Sharma talks about the difficulty curve. He says, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. And he uses the space shuttle to explain why it's so hard.
I love this because it makes the struggle feel logical, not personal.
Right. The space shuttle uses more fuel during the first 60 seconds of liftoff than it does for the entire rest of the trip around the Earth.
Right.
Because it has to overcome gravity. It has to reach escape velocity. Personal growth is the same. When you start waking up at 5 a.m., it feels incredibly heavy. Your old habits are pulling you down like gravity.
So when you feel that resistance, that's not a sign you're failing. That's just the G-force of liftoff.
Exactly. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everyone would do it. The effort is proof that you are escaping your old orbit.
Okay, let's talk about the tools for maintaining that orbit. Sharma loves books, and he has this concept called Babele, B-A-B-L-E.
It stands for Book Accumulation Beyond Life Expectancy.
Okay, I feel seen. I have stacks of books I haven't read. Sharma says this is actually a good thing.
It is. It's the idea that being surrounded by unread wisdom keeps you humble. It's a visual reminder of how much you don't know. It keeps your curiosity alive.
So I can keep buying books. Excellent. But when we do read, he suggests the 45-15 rule.
Yes, this transforms reading from passive entertainment into active training. You read for 45 minutes, deep focus, then you stop, and you spend 15 minutes debriefing, journaling, asking, how can I apply this?
Because otherwise it's just intellectual tourism.
Ideation without execution becomes a delusion.
Yeah.
That's the quote. If you read a book on push-ups but never get on the floor, you aren't getting stronger.
But, and I love this part, he also warns against burning out. He talks about strategic laziness.
This is crucial, especially for high performers. In this world of hustle culture, Sharma says, it's okay to be sloppy. You don't need to grind 247, Growth happens in the rest periods.
Like muscles.
Exactly. Muscles don't grow while you lift. They grow while you sleep. You need seasons of messiness to allow for growth.
I want to touch on one last block to growth. It's not about habits, it's emotional. Sharma calls it the resentment stack.
This is the invisible weight many of us carry. Every time someone wrongs us, if we don't process it, we add it to the stack. My boss was rude to me in 2018.
Oh.
Over time, this stack gets heavy. It drains your energy.
He suggests we worship our wounds, which, I have to be honest, that sounds a little ooh.
It definitely has that vibe. But strip away the mystical language, and the logic is practical. It means reframing scars as data. Instead of being bitter about a failed business, you view it as the tuition you paid to learn how to run a successful one.
You can't be a victim of your past and a master of your future at the same time.
You have to choose. And this leads to the ultimate takeaway of the growth form of wealth, the concept of being the grown-up in the room.
Right, the story about the young man in Cape Town.
Yeah. This guy had a rough start, gangs, violence, but he turned it around, started washing dishes, and eventually became a top chef. When Sharma asked him how he did it, he said something that just stops you in your tracks. He said, I realized no one's going to do it for me.
No one is coming.
No savior is coming, no
Yeah.
fairy godmother. The government isn't going to fix your life. Your parents aren't going to fix your life. If you want the golden windows, you have to build the house. You have to assume absolute personal responsibility.
You are the grown-up in the room now.
You are.
That is heavy, but it's also incredibly empowering. Because if no one is coming, that means the power is entirely in your hands. So let's bring this all back home. We started with the illusion of the golden windows, thinking wealth is somewhere else. But the reality is, true wealth starts with growth.
It starts with debugging your programming, that P&M principle. It means facing your fears and realizing they're just ghost stories.
Usually only 6 inches deep.
Right?
It means building your pyramid one stone at a time, accepting that the liftoff will burn the most fuel, and using tools like that 4-5-5-15 rule to make sure you're actually changing, not just reading.
And ultimately, it's about clearing that resentment stack so you have the energy to build a person who can handle the world.
Sharma talks about the suffering of unworthiness. We try to fill that hole inside us with cash, with likes, with cars. But as the Zen proverb says, wherever you go, there you are.
If you don't like who you are, no amount of money will make the view from the mountaintop enjoyable. You'll just be a miserable person with a great view.
So here is our final thought for you to chew on today. You are the grown-up in the room. You have the map. The torn pieces are in your hands. If you want the world to come together, you have to put the person together first.
And the question I'd leave you with is this. In your chase for the golden windows, which of the 8 forms of wealth have you been neglecting? Is it your growth, your health, your family? Because remember, money is form number 5. Don't sacrifice the top 4 to get it.
That's it for this deep dive. Go build your pyramid. We'll see you next time.